Iain Dale. Text 84850. This is LBC.
10 to 8. Now, if you were listening to this second ever cross question back in the middle of September, you'll have heard me giving the Financial Secretary to the Treasury, Mel Stride, a bit of a grilling over something called the loan charge. It provoked a massive reaction on social media, it has to be said. Well, tomorrow, people from all over the country are coming to Westminster to join the Stop the Loan Charge lobby day. Campaigners say that when this legislation's come in next April, it could potentially damage the economy and public services and will drive many people to the brink of despair. Thousands of UK contractors, including doctors, dentists and IT workers, are at risk of bankruptcy after HMRC introduced stringent new retrospective rules around tax schemes used by freelancers in the past. They actually want to go back for 20 years and charge you back tax for 20 years, even though this legislation wasn't in place then. I mean, it is, I think, quite scandalous. But the government showed no sign of caving in on this. I wrote a piece immediately after that programme, and I said that this has the potential in the business world to be a sort of poll tax moment for the government, because and retrospective legislation is something that we don't normally do in this country except in exceptional circumstances. Now, I'm not arguing for people not to pay their fair share of tax. Of course they should. And if the government wants to introduce new legislation to change the rules for the future, well, absolutely, that's their prerogative to do so. And then we judge them on that at the next election. Well, Stephen Lloyd is Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Work and Pensions and MP for Eastbourne. He's been writing about this today. And Stephen, I think this is something that you've been talking about for quite some time.
It is. Hello, Iain. About 7 months ago, a constituent came to me. I didn't know anything about the issue until he came to me. I went through the details, and you've kind of hit the nail on the head, because to me, there are two issues. One, a sense of natural justice, because you've got retrospective tax potentially going back for 20 years. Put that in context, I don't know, a social worker or an IT person on maybe only 35, 40 grand a year for 10 years, they're going to be clobbered with a tax bill of maybe 70 or 80,000 pounds. People can't afford that, you know. I just think that's a complete lack of natural justice. Then the other thing that I focused on is a lot of employers, and I include public sector employers, over the last 20 years had been steering people into these schemes, and yet they're not being held responsible at all. It's all piling down on the individual freelancers, and I just don't think that's fair. So I tabled an early day motion 6 or 7 months ago. We've got a lot of cross-party support. I've got almost 100 people signing it, and tomorrow's the lobby day. I'm going to have an MP's drop-in. I'm hoping many of those MPs can come in and meet the constituents, talk about this, and keep up the pressure on Mel Stride, the Chief Secretary, and also the Chancellor, just to explore the natural justice aspect. How on earth can you do retrospective tax over 20 years? That is just, I think, unfair.
Well, one person I read about, or maybe phoned in, I can't remember, but they were trying to get back tax for 20 years, and he had no record. He knew he was unemployed for a year, and they said to him, well, we need proof. And he said, well, how can I have proof that I was unemployed? And now they're going to charge him the average of the other 19 years for the year he was unemployed. So he's being charged tax for the year that he didn't actually have a job. I mean, that's the kind of ridiculous situation that we're coming to here.
It really is. And a lot of people are impacted massively. They really are. What I don't understand is, one, why the HMG, or Her Majesty's tax people, haven't actually gone for a number of employers as well, because I think they've got culpability. And two, the retrospective nature of this, and you're talking individuals, you're not talking giant corporates, is really very, very unusual. I think it will drive a lot of people to ruin. I don't think that's healthy. And a heck of a lot of these people actually provide services within the public sector who, let's face it, you know, are under a lot of strain at the minute anyway. So I just basically think it's unfair, and that's what tomorrow is going to be about, to put pressure on the government to be reasonable. That's all I'm saying. Not to forget it, but just be reasonable and accommodating. And I don't think that's unfair.
And even if you take the fairness aspect out of it, politically, it is, well, naive is one word. I could use a much stronger word, because, I mean, a lot of these people, in theory, I suppose, would be natural Conservative voters.
I'm sure you're right. I mean, my own opinion, hopefully all those ones in Eastbourne vote for me, you know. But anyway, no,
in the marginal constituency of Eastbourne.
God bless them. No, I think that's an important point. These are individuals providing a specialist service often within the public sector. Often they're quite skilled or very skilled, and yet the retrospective nature of it, I mean, Iain, you've been around a long time, I've been around a long time. It's incredibly unusual for retrospective legislation to happen, particularly for individuals. And I think this is ruinous, and I think it could ruin a lot of people, and I think that's unnecessary.
Well, if I didn't have a 2-hour dental appointment tomorrow, I would come down and offer my support, because I do think it is such an outrageous thing that the government are doing here. Stephen Lloyd, Liberal Democrat spokesperson for Work and Pensions, good luck with this campaign, because it deserves to succeed.